Lacey Wynn had 12 million followers, brand deals with global giants, and a mansion in Los Angeles. What no one knew was that behind the viral dances and flawless filters, she was hiding a secret that would lead to a fan's disappearance, a police investigation, and a courtroom full of shattered illusions. The warrant was signed on a humid Friday morning, just 5 days after the discovery of the eerie at Mirror Vibes videos. By midday, police cars surrounded Lacey Wynn's gated estate in the Hollywood Hills. Helicopters hovered above, capturing footage that news outlets would later replay endlessly. Fans watched in disbelief as uniformed officers entered the home of a woman they believed was untouchable. Lacey's pristine mansion, known to millions from her home tour TikTok, was suddenly the center of an active crime scene. At first, everything inside appeared in order. The main living areas were spotless, organized to look effortlessly beautiful. Rows of designer skincare, sparkling countertops, pastel furniture, and a carefully arranged camera setup in every major room. But investigators weren't looking for aesthetic. They were looking for anomalies, and they found one in the least expected place: the laundry room. Behind the dryer, concealed by a painted wall panel, officers discovered a small door. It led to a narrow staircase that descended into a hidden basement. What they found below erased any remaining sense of doubt. The basement was soundproofed, lined with black acoustic panels, and lit with harsh fluorescent bulbs. Stacks of boxes filled with wigs, outfits, and TikTok props were scattered across the room. One corner contained a rack of clothing nearly identical to what Nora Beck had worn in her final post. But the most alarming item was a gray hoodie, partially tucked under a stool. It was stained with what looked like dried blood. Forensics quickly confirmed it matched Nora's DNA. The case had shifted from missing person to presumed homicide. Back upstairs, officers collected Lacey's electronics. Her phone was unlocked, but her personal laptop was protected with a military-grade encryption system. After hours of digital forensics, investigators accessed a hidden folder labeled Draft Vault. Inside were hundreds of videos that had never been posted, clips of Lacey dancing in odd, almost robotic sequences, sometimes filmed in the basement, sometimes in dimly lit bathrooms, always with an uncomfortable edge. In one particularly disturbing video, she performed a dance while a figure in the background, barely visible, appeared to be restrained to a chair. Detectives also found a series of notes saved under different aliases. Some were scripts, some appeared to be diary entries. One file, titled Controlled Text, outlined a strange set of rules for interactions with fans. It detailed how to isolate obsessive followers and instruct them to meet in person. The tone was clinical, methodical, and entirely out of sync with the bubbly persona Lacey had projected online. Word of the search and the evidence found inside the house spread like wildfire. News stations camped outside her property, drones hovered overhead, and social media exploded with theories. Some fans refused to believe the truth, insisting it was a setup. Others quietly deleted their supportive comments from her past videos. Lacey was arrested the next morning while recording a new Grum video. As police officers walked into her frame and placed her in handcuffs, she stared blankly into the lens, saying nothing. The video would later become the most watched livestream in TikTok history. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation as Lacey Wynn was brought in, dressed in muted gray, far removed from the vibrant, camera-ready outfits her fans were used to. Photographers swarmed the courthouse steps, capturing the surreal image of a TikTok star now standing trial for the suspected murder of a fan. Inside, every seat was taken: journalists, social media influencers, and the families of other missing young women who, until now, hadn't been publicly linked to Lacey, but shared eerie similarities with Nora Beck. The prosecution wasted no time. They presented a chilling timeline backed by digital evidence. Nora's last known location was Lacey's house. Security footage confirmed her arrival, yet no exit. Her blood was found on a hoodie in Lacey's hidden basement. A phone ping placed Nora's device within the home for hours after the fan event ended, and then silence. But it was what they found on Lacey's phone that shook the courtroom. A private folder named Shadow Projects. In it were dozens of unreleased videos, Some were recreations of her most viral TikToks, but filmed in locations that had never been seen before. Others were twisted imitations, replacing her usual cheerful tone with cold, expressionless routines in dark, claustrophobic settings. Audio was stripped, replaced with static, whispering, or slowed-down nursery songs. Prosecutors argued these weren't experiments in artistic expression, they were trophies. In one clip, a figure matching Nora's size and clothing was visible for only a few frames, gagged and unmoving in the background. Lacey's defense team claimed the videos were art, part of an experimental content series she had planned to release on a separate platform. They argued there was no direct footage of violence, and insisted that Nora had likely left on her own, perhaps running away, or falling victim to someone else entirely. They emphasized Lacey's lack of a criminal record and painted her as a misunderstood creator caught in the digital age's obsession with scandal, but the evidence kept piling. Deleted messages recovered from cloud backups revealed disturbing conversations with multiple fans. Some were lured with promises of exclusive collaborations. Others invited to secret meetups that were never disclosed publicly. A few of those fans were later listed as missing cases scattered across different states, each dismissed at the time due to lack of evidence. Now, the pattern was unmistakable. Then came the voice recordings, extracted from an old smartwatch Lacey had synced to her home network. The audio logs revealed hours of private monologues. In one, she described how nobody really sees the real me, and how the screen protects me from judgment. But one file stood out above the rest. In a whispered tone, she said, "Some fans, they don't know how to stop. So I stopped them first." The jury sat in stunned silence. For the world, the question had changed from, "Did she do it?" to "How many?" As the trial entered its final days, the mask Lacey wore for millions had cracked beyond repair. What remained underneath wasn't a misunderstood starlet. It was something much colder and far more terrifying. The final chapter of Lacey Wynn's saga began not in the courtroom, but in the form of a confession buried in silence. Just days before the verdict, a new witness stepped forward, Mallory Keene, Lacey's former assistant. Quietly watching the media frenzy from the sidelines, Mallory had stayed silent for months, fearing both retaliation and disbelief. But the revelations at trial, combined with growing public pressure, compelled her to come forward with what she knew, and it was far worse than anyone had imagined. Mallory had worked for Lacey during the height of her fame, managing everything from emails to fan interactions. What began as a dream job quickly turned into something sinister. She recalled how Lacey meticulously curated her online image while becoming increasingly paranoid in private. She kept files on obsessive fans tagged, monitored, and ranked based on how far they were willing to go to be near her. Mallory claimed Lacey used this information not to protect herself, but to test boundaries, to see how much control she could exert over people. She revealed secret recordings stored on encrypted drives, including one from the night of Nora Beck's disappearance. Though the audio was muffled, Nora's voice was clearly heard pleading, confused and scared. Lacey's tone remained eerily calm. The clip ended with the sound of a door locking in silence. The single file shattered any remaining doubts. Alongside the recordings, Mallory presented chat logs showing Lacey instructing her to sort out the list, referring to fans scheduled for private one-on-ones. Several of those names matched individuals who were later reported missing in other states. Some had small followings of their own. All had connections to Lacey's brand either through giveaways, DMs, or exclusive merchandise drops that required detailed personal info to enter. What once looked like smart marketing now resembled calculated grooming. With Mallory's testimony, the jury reached a unanimous verdict in under 3 hours. Lacey Wynn was found guilty on all counts: murder, unlawful confinement, obstruction, and evidence tampering. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The courtroom erupted not in cheers, but in stunned, heavy silence. Outside, fans gathered. Some wept, unable to reconcile the idol they had adored with the reality of the monster behind the camera. Others held signs demanding justice for the victims whose names had only now begun to emerge. TikTok suspended Lacey's account permanently, along with all affiliated brand deals. Her content disappeared overnight, though clips continued to circulate on conspiracy forums and true crime channels. In the aftermath, multiple families reopened missing persons cases that had once been considered cold. Nora Beck's body was never recovered, but her story ignited a nationwide reckoning about influencer culture and unchecked digital obsession. Documentaries, podcasts, and Netflix deals followed, each telling pieces of the story, but none could capture the chilling disconnect between who Lacey appeared to be and who she truly was. In the end, the question that lingered wasn't just how many lives she had touched, it was how many she had destroyed behind the mask of fame.